Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Tap on in. It's Preem. We in the game. I know y'all been like, man, where is this dude at? Man, he keep rescheduling, pushing the live streams back. But check it out, man. We here. Get on up in here, man, and make sure that you like the content. Reel it in rap, no cap. It's your boy Preem in the game. You dig. Shout out to Scoop, man. That's my dog. He said, Red always late. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, man, sometimes I'm late. Because when you get to doing this and doing a little bit of that. But hey, man, we here. Tap on in with your boy. Strong humble, man. Shout out to Strong Humble. Yes, sir. What it do? I gotta do what it do. Shout out to Monique Robinson. You already know how we gonna get it popping. You know? The reason that whites want Mexicans out of America. And we're going to touch on that, right? Me being from Los Angeles, there's a lot of things that I'm going to break down. If you don't know, you're going to know now. You're going to learn something today. Oh, yeah, you're going to learn something today. Extreme Pig said, this better be good. Well, make sure that you support the content. It's always going to be good when, when the game is delivered by King Supreme. True indeed. Giving you what you need. Donald Pookie Trump said, about time, big dog. Hey, man, we in a building. We ready. We up in the game heavy. Hey, homie, it's time to boycott Home Depot. Mexicans said they're going to boycott Home Depot. They're going to boycott Walmart. Mexicans said Home Depot allows ICE to come on a property for these ICE raids to get rid of them. So Mexicans feel like Home Depot was working hand to hand with ICE agents and Border Patrol. So with that being said, Mexicans are telling their people, boycott Home Depot and say, chale, boycott Home Depot and say. And that's the word on the streets. Boycott Lowe's, boycott Home Depots, boycott Walmart. Mexicans are fed up. Yeah. So you already know, man, it's your boy Supreme and the place to be, Hey, I say boycott Home Depot. Now, this liberal white woman said that immigrant communities commit the less crimes. Seriously? Where do you think MS-13 comes from? The immigrant communities. They come over here, they bring their children, they have babies, and their children become MS-13 gang members. The Venezuelans come over here, and their children join Trendy Aragua. So when you think about these foreign gangs, and you've never seen them before, you got foreign gangs popping up in Atlanta, popping up in Memphis, popping up in Nashville, popping up in Birmingham. Trendy Aragua, MS-13, and the 18th Street gang comes from these immigrant communities. What are you talking about? Huh? Do you know that Mexico and El Salvador, Honduras are some of the most violent countries across the world? So when they tell you, oh, these immigrants are they commit less crimes in America, their homelands, look at their homeland. Look at the crime that's going on in their homelands. Then let's take it a step further. When they come to America, they start MS-13, the Trinity Aragua gang, 18th Street. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, and a long list of other crimes. What are you talking about, Willis? You're speaking to one of the realists. Boycott Home Depot. Boycott Home Depot. Boycott Home Depot. Boycott Home Depot.
some shoppers, Black Friday means deals, but in Torrance today it also meant a protest. Immigrant rights groups rallied outside a Home Depot there, accusing the retailer of allowing ICE raids on its property. Fox 11's Laura Diaz here with more on that. Laura?
And yes, Christine, about 100 people showed up today. Protesters say Home Depot has looked the other way as those raids have been played out across Southern California. And they're using this Black Friday to push for a boycott. They took their message to Torrance this afternoon.
Boycott Home Depot!
On this Black Friday, members from various immigrants' rights groups carried signs and expressed outrage in front of the Home Depot in Torrance. They were demonstrating on behalf of the day laborers and against ICE raids, many of which have taken place at Home Depots in the Southland. Demonstrators allege that Home Depot has been helping federal officials in the immigration raids, which have played out dramatically in recent months.
It gives ICE privilege so they can use their facilities to take these people without due process.
For people like Kathleen Kirich, it felt like a moral obligation. She usually shops here at the store located at Lomita and Crenshaw Boulevard. But this Friday, no shopping cart, just fighting words urging shoppers to make a statement by withholding their shopping dollars from the home improvement store.
I've shopped at Home Depot for 4 decades. I've spent a lot of money at Home Depot, but not now. Not when Home Depot is not standing up for the human beings that keep our country alive and running.
Activists have tried several means of boycotting the store chain, including this one, asking shoppers to boycott the store in Spanish. Another protest location was Home Depot in Monrovia earlier this week, where demonstrators bought ice scrapers and then promptly returned them at cash registers. The move stymied frustrated shoppers at the checkout, creating a long line. It slowed down business. And why do this on Black Friday?
Buy your Christmas tree elsewhere and boycott Home Depot. We want them to denounce the raids. We want them to stop allowing their parking lots to be used as hunting grounds. We want them to provide safe spaces for day laborers and offer some recompense to the over 500 families whose lives have been shattered.
Home Depot denies any complicity in those raids, telling Fox 11.
You think Home Depot got control over where ICE goes? Do you really believe that? Let's boycott Home Depot.
Right here, you see it on your screen. We aren't notified that immigration enforcement activities are going to happen, and we aren't involved in the operations. We aren't coordinating with ICE or Border Patrol. We're required to follow all federal and local rules and regulations in every market.
See, they're telling the truth. They said we aren't notified that immigration enforcement activities are going to happen. We aren't involved in the operations. We are not coordinating with ICE or Border Patrol. We're required to follow federal and local rules and regulations everywhere we operate. So what are these Mexicans talking about? Huh? That's crazy.
Live across SoCal, this is LA Live News Tonight, Fox 11 Plus.
The LAPD has not told us anything about the suspect. That's why we're blurring this man's face. Another Amazon vehicle, though, was also seemingly targeted earlier this week. 2 carjacking suspects were arrested after leading deputy sheriffs on a pursuit in Lakewood. Authorities say an Amazon driver's car was taken while the driver was delivering packages. Again, we're seeing this time of year, of course, when targeted Amazon trucks as well as packages. We did reach out to Amazon ourselves about today's incident here in Mid-City for a comment, and we're still waiting to hear back. Reporting live in Mid-City tonight, Rachel Aragon, I'll send it back to you.
Well, Rachel, just to clarify, were they trying to seek out an Amazon truck, or do you think it was merely a crime of opportunity? Maybe she can't hear me. Okay, we'll just move on. Yeah. Thank you, Rachel.
Boycott Home Depot! Boycott Home Depot!
For some shoppers, Black Friday means deals, but in Torrance today, it also meant a protest. Immigrants' rights groups rallied outside of a Home Depot, accusing the retailer of allowing ICE raids on its property. Protesters say that Home Depot has looked the other way as those raids have been played out across Southern California, and they're using this Black Friday to push for a boycott. They took their message to Torrance this afternoon.
Home Depot!
On this Black Friday, members from various immigrants' rights groups carried signs and expressed outrage in front of the Home Depot in Torrance. They were demonstrating on behalf of the day laborers and against ICE raids, many of which have taken place at Home Depots in the Southland. Demonstrators allege that Home Depot has been helping federal officials in the immigration raids, which have played out dramatically in recent months.
It gives ICE privilege so they can use their facilities to take these people without due process.
For people like Kathleen Kirich, it felt like a moral obligation. She usually shops here at the store located at Lomita and Crenshaw Boulevard. But this Friday, no shopping cart, just fighting words urging shoppers to make a statement by withholding their shopping dollars from the home improvement store.
I've shopped at Home Depot for 4 decades. I've spent a lot of money at Home Depot, but not now. Not when Home Depot is not standing up for the human beings that keep our country alive and running.
Immigrants do not keep our country alive and running. Immigrants are exploited. They are used for cheap labor. These greedy corporations and companies hire Mexicans for cheap labor. That's the closest thing that they'll ever get to slavery. Foundational Black Americans built the wealth in this country, not no illegal border hoppers.
Activists have tried several means of boycotting the store chain, including this one, asking shoppers to boycott the store.
Look at these Mexicans. They in there asking shoppers to boycott. Man, Black people, go to Home Depot and spend some money. White folks, hey, man, go to Home Depot and spend some money. Man, this is crazy.
Spanish. Another protest in Spanish. In Spanish, by withholding their shopping dollars from the home improvement store.
I've shopped at Home Depot for 4 decades. I've spent a lot of money at Home Depot, but not now. Not when Home Depot is not standing up for the human beings that keep our country alive and running.
Activists have tried several means of boycotting the store chain, including this one, asking shoppers to boycott the store in Spanish. Another protest location was Home Depot in Monrovia earlier this week, where demonstrators bought ice scrapers and then promptly returned them at cash registers. The move stymied frustrated shoppers at the checkout, creating a long line. It slowed down business. And why do this on Black Friday?
Buy your Christmas tree elsewhere and boycott Home Depot. We want them to denounce the raids. We want them to stop allowing their parking lots to be used as hunting grounds. We want them to provide safe spaces for day laborers and offer some recompense to the over.
No, why should Home Depot provide a safe space for illegals? Home Depot got to follow the rules and regulations just like everybody else. They can't stop ICE from pulling up. They can't stop ICE from deporting illegal immigrants just because they're in the parking lot of Home Depot. Absolutely not. Mass deportation. Go back to Mexico. My thing is this. They wave Mexican flags everywhere. You shouldn't be mad. You shouldn't be upset or mad about the fact that you got to go back to the place that you claim to love. Because if you're waving the Mexican flag, that means that you love Mexico. Why cry about the place that you got to go back to, especially if you love Mexico? If you love Mexico so much and take so much pride in it, you shouldn't be depressed when they send you back home. Embrace the fact that you're going back home. You want to wave Mexican flags around in America, but you act like it's the worst thing in the world when they send you back home. You should embrace going back home.
Families whose lives have been shattered.
Home Depot denies any complicity in the raids, telling Fox 11, "We aren't notified that immigration enforcement activities are going to happen, and we aren't involved in the operations. We aren't coordinating with ICE or Border Patrol. We're required to follow all federal and local rules and regulations in every market where we operate." So, Christine, of course, we know that they have been going the ICE raids into agricultural fields, construction sites, and
car washes.
And yes, and the Home Depots. But as you just heard, Home Depot saying they're not involved in it.
But we've seen
Illegal immigrants are not keeping our country up and running. These corporations and companies exploit them for cheap labor. That's the closest thing they'll ever get to slavery, bringing illegal immigrants over. But see, now white people are realizing that, hold on, if we keep these borders open, Mexicans are going to mess around and overpopulate this country. White people see that as a threat. Look at what they did to the black population. They never wanted the black population to catch up to their population. So they did everything to stagnate our numbers. Planned Parenthood, put drugs in the community, mass incarceration for black men so that they can't reproduce and have more babies. Right? So at one particular time, they say, you know, we'll use these immigrants to replace the black community. But the white people look at Mexicans as a threat because they said, if we keep these borders open, and these Mexican women continue to cross the border illegally for the sole purpose of dumping anchor babies, pretty soon they're going to overpopulate the country, and then they're going to outnumber white people. And white people ain't having that. White people say, "No, we got to get rid of these Mexicans. If we don't, they're going to mess around and overpopulate us. Let's send them back home. We got to get rid of them." Nobody has babies faster than Mexicans. I repeat, no other race in this country has babies faster than Mexicans. Nobody reproduces faster than Mexicans. Because let me tell you what Mexicans know. They know they can cross the border illegally, have a baby in this country, and that child becomes a citizen automatically because of birthright citizenship. So white people, this is what you're going to do. This is what you have to do. You got to take away birthright citizenship. If you came to this country illegally, I don't care if you had a child in this country. If you're illegal, so is your child. If I took my woman to Mexico, let's say I took my lady to Mexico. Me and my lady went to Mexico, and she know who she is. And let's say she was pregnant. We went on vacation in Mexico. She went into labor while we were in Mexico, and she had a baby in Mexico. That child is not a Mexican citizen just because she had a baby over there. They're going to say, "Nah, you're an American citizen. We don't care that you had your baby in Mexico. Your child is not a citizen of Mexico." It don't work like that. So what do white people have to do? Listen, it don't matter how many immigrants you deport. If you don't take away birthright citizenship, it's not going to matter. They'll continue to come over here illegally and dump anchor babies for the sole purpose of birthright citizenship. White people should have fixed that a long time ago. See, black people, we didn't come here illegally for the sole purpose of dumping anchor babies. So white people look at the Mexican population as a threat because they say, hold on now, Jim. If we allow this to happen for another 10 years, Mexicans will be the majority in this country, and white folks ain't having that. So they're going to put a stop to that. They're going to do whatever they got to do to put a stop to this nonsense. They should have put a stop to this nonsense 50 years ago, and we wouldn't have the problems that we have now.
Protests at Home Depots before. All right.
Yes, making the word known.
Other news tonight, LA County fires say a vehicle fire.
Hit the like button, it ain't nothing. Oh, he hates Mexicans. This ain't got nothing to do with my feelings. I'm giving you the reality. I'm giving you the facts. Make sure that you guys bless the Cash App and support the show. You already know. It's your boy, Red Supreme. White people are fed up with Mexicans because one thing the white people know, if we keep these borders open, Mexicans are going to mess around and overpopulate us in our own country, and we can't have that. Well, white people, you should have paid attention to this a long time ago. You're rewarding people for breaking the law. You're rewarding people for crossing the border illegally. See, one thing Mexicans know is this, and this is why they cross the border by the millions. It don't matter if I come to America illegally. If I have a baby in this country, my child is a citizen. That is how they anchor themselves in this country. Mexicans been playing that game for a long time. Mexicans have gotten away with this for decades. Come to America illegally for the sole purpose of dumping an anchor baby for birthright citizenship. That is how they're gonna. That's how the Mexican population gotten so big in this country. If Mexicans had to come to America legally the right way, their population would be 50% or 60% smaller than what it is now. The only reason we got a lot of Mexicans in America is because they've been able to come over here illegally and dump anchor babies for birthright citizenship, and that is how their population grows. That is what grew their population over the last 4 to 5 decades. Come illegally for the sole purpose of dumping an anchor baby for birthright citizenship. Mexicans have gotten away with this for decades, and that is how they overpopulated America. Because of that right there, because of our weak immigration policies. Now let's see what Karen Bass is talking about in LA.
Today, lawmakers, religious leaders, and community members took part in a civil rights march, 2025 style. It was a show of support for the undocumented and U.S. citizens who've been taken into custody by federal immigration officers. Those actions are now under investigation by congressional Democrats. The hearing was passionate, with a cross-section of religious and community activists speaking. The idea was to document all that has happened here in Southern California during this tumultuous time.
They're being traumatized, and they're not here today. I'm here to speak for them. I'm their voice today.
Monday, in front of Our Lady Queen of Angels Catholic Church in downtown Los Angeles, city leaders, civil rights leaders, and faith leaders stood up for those in the eye of the immigration storm. They held signs, chanted, and demanded accountability. LA Mayor Karen Bass was vocal in her leadership.
We want to establish a record because when the political winds change, we want to hold those accountable. We want transparency and accountability for all of the egregious, unconstitutional acts that are taking place.
Los Angeles has been ground zero for immigration raids. For months, agents roamed the streets of LA, toting guns and chasing down undocumented immigrants. Some people were pulled from their cars by masked agents. Federal immigration officials say some 7,000 undocumented immigrants have been arrested in the LA area since June 6th. Fear over the raids left city streets empty and church pews empty too.
There are a lot of fears, so people who are normally enjoy Sundays at the church, they were not more able to come just because of fear.
After the rally, supporters walked to the Metropolitan Water District building where the public hearing was held. Congressman Robert Garcia oversaw the proceedings. At issue is whether federal immigration agents have unlawfully detained U.S. citizens and others in recent months.
Man, we don't care about that. You know how many Black Americans been harassed by the police because of those stop and frisk laws? You think we care about some illegal immigrants and anchor babies getting harassed by the police? The Mexican guy said it himself. I thought blacks were just capping when they talked about being harassed by the police. Now that Mexicans are being harassed by the police, we can now feel the pain. We can now feel Black people's pain. Yeah, because you want our support, you want our assistance, and we're not going to give it. Well, now we understand what blacks are saying. No, it's not the same. You guys are fighting for the right to break the law. You guys are fighting to legalize border hopping. Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, we are citizens of this country. So we're not fighting for the right to break the law. We was talking about police brutality and how we were over-policed in our communities when they harass Black citizens who are not out here committing crimes. You can't compare that to a group of people that's marching to legalize border hopping, fighting for the right to break the law, which is what Mexicans are doing. Mexicans are literally fighting for the right to break the law. They are fighting to legalize border hopping. You can't compare that to what blacks have went through in this country. You can't even compare that. It's not comparable. That is disrespect. when Mexicans compare what they're going through to what we went through in this country. It is not the same. You guys are fighting to legalize border hopping. You guys are fighting for the right to break the law. How dare you compare that to the black struggle?
We will hold those that are breaking our Constitution and denying due process accountable. Now, the American people are also watching. In this country, no one is above the law, and the Constitution protects everyone. The Constitution
was not meant to protect illegals and undocumented people. The Constitution is for American citizens, not for anchor babies who parents who came here illegally to have them in this country. The Constitution was never created for anchor babies. It was never created for illegal immigrants and border hoppers. The Constitution was meant to protect The Constitution was meant to protect American citizens, not illegal border hoppers and anchor babies.
clearly states hold those that are breaking our Constitution and denying due process accountable. Now, the American people are also watching. In this country, no one is above the law, and the Constitution protects everyone. The Constitution clearly states that due process is afforded to all people, not just U.S. citizens, but non-citizens. And
so he want illegals to have the same rights as citizens. This is why you should never allow anchor babies to get in office to have a voice in politics, because they say nonsense like this. He wants illegal border hoppers to have the same rights as American citizens. Well, if we went to Mexico, you think I'm gonna have the same rights as an American? If I went to Mexico, do you really believe I'm gonna have the same rights as a Mexican citizens? No, absolutely not. This is what I mean when these anchor babies and these border hoppers say the most ridiculous things that you can imagine. He wants illegal immigrants to have the same rights as American citizens in our country. Absolutely not. That doesn't make sense. Well, the Constitution should benefit illegal immigrants, not just American citizens. Shut up, man. You sound crazy. This is why you don't give anchor babies citizenship. This is why you never allow anchor babies into politics, because they say frivolous things that don't make sense. Let's give illegal immigrants the same rights as American citizens. Let's give border hoppers the same rights as American citizens. Do you know how dumb that sounds?
And the Constitution protects everyone and denying due process accountable. Now, the American people are also watching. In this country, no one is above the law, and the Constitution protects everyone. The Constitution clearly states that due process is afforded to all people, not just U.S. citizens, but non-citizens and others alike.
Today's gathering was a field hearing. No Republicans participated. At today's hearing, the congressman announced the launch of the Oversight Immigration Enforcement Dashboard. It's meant to document and archive possible misconduct by federal agents. The congressman said the dashboard already has over 250 alleged documented instances. Marla?
Oh man, so illegal immigrants should have the same rights as American citizens. That is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. What's the purpose of being an American citizen if an illegal immigrant has the same rights as you?
A sweeping new investigation by the Associated Press.
Think about how dumb that sounds. Let's give this illegal immigrant, a border hopper, the same rights as an American citizen. That is dumb. That is the opposite of common sense.
Is raising serious questions about what's happening inside America's immigration courts. White House correspondent Liz Landers has more on how the administration has circumvented the asylum process.
Every day, all across the country, asylum cases are being tossed out, and asylum seekers exit the courtroom into the waiting arms and cuffs of immigration officers.
Make sure that you guys support the super chat. Make sure that you guys bless the cash app. Make sure that you guys support some of this good old work delivered by your player partner, King Supreme. Show your love and appreciation for the content. An illegal immigrant deserves the same rights as an American citizen. Man, please. This is why you never allow anchor babies into politics. This is why you don't give anchor babies birthright citizenship. Because what do anchor babies do? They fight for their people. They fight for the rights of their people, even if their people are breaking the law. That's what anchor babies do once they become politicians. They fight for illegal immigrants. And when you think about it, it is anti-American. Anchor babies fight for things that are anti-American because I said it before and I said it again. I'll say it again. Their loyalty is to their parents' country. When it comes to anchor babies, their loyalty is to their parents' country, which is Mexico, Central and South America. They fight for things that are anti-American. Never give anchor babies citizenship because you get foolish people like this. Well, technically, immigrants should have the same rights as American citizens. It takes an anchor baby or a tether to say something like that.
Country, asylum cases are being tossed out, and asylum seekers exit the courtroom into the waiting arms and cuffs of immigration officers. That, according to a new report from the Associated Press, headlined, "Migrants thought they were in a court for a routine hearing. Instead, it was a deportation trap." One of its authors, Josh Goodman, joins us now. Josh, thank you for joining the NewsHour.
Thank you.
In reporting this story, you and your colleagues went to 21 immigration courts. Can you describe the scene as you watch migrants walk into court and then walk out into a legal snare?
Yeah, we witnessed multiple arrests over several months. This was a routine practice by which government attorneys would go before a judge, dismiss a case, which would typically be a good outcome for someone trying to stay in the United States. And as soon as they would leave the courtroom, they would be arrested by ICE agents or federal agents, frequently with masks. Nationwide, it's estimated that there were over 2,000 arrests in this manner. Some of the courts were quite chaotic, arresting people in hallways. People were being trapped in elevators. Journalists were being rough-handled. Scenes of fathers being torn from their children, women begging federal agents to let their husbands go. These are people who wanted to follow the rules. They didn't have a criminal record. They were making an asylum claim and going through all the stages that are required, and were completely blindsided by what happened to them.
What has changed in these immigration courts under this new Trump administration?
So these immigration courts were kind of structurally flawed from the very beginning. They are not part of the independent judiciary in the way that, tax court or federal court or, any multiple courts around the United States are. They are part of the executive branch. They actually are part of the Justice Department. They had a degree of professionalism over time that was built up, and these judges were allowed to really rule like any other court, but they were always very vulnerable to some sort of takeover. What we've seen now under the second Trump administration, they are effectively exploiting those vulnerabilities, issuing new orders about what judges can and cannot rule on. And they're really narrowing the scope that these judges have to decide the cases.
How do the attorneys and judges within the immigration court system feel about the role that they're playing under this new Trump administration tactic?
What I found is that overall, these are people who are very patriotic. They signed up to work in the immigration system because they wanted to protect America's borders, root out the true people who need asylum from some of the people who are claiming it for non-legal reasons, or economic refugees, for example. And they did not sign up for this at all. One of the judges I talked to said this is really like deciding death penalty cases in a traffic court environment, because they have so few tools to actually mete out justice that, and they have such a huge docket, that they are rushing through these cases without giving them the due consideration that they need. And I noticed in some of the text messages between the federal agents and the attorneys a great deal of empathy, and people kind of saying to themselves, this is cruel, and we don't really want to be a part of this.
I was struck by that in your reporting, that these attorneys who are arguing in front of these judges are in direct contact, it seems, with the ICE agents who are waiting outside.
This process starts about 2 weeks in advance. Every attorney is assigned a number of people, like maybe 40 cases that day. They have to come up with a list for the client. The client here is ICE, of people who they would quote unquote call amenable to detention. And then on the day of the hearings, the attorney and the ICE officer in the hallway are coordinating almost in real time so that they can identify what the individual looks like, what kind of shirt, black shirt, a white shirt, whatever they're wearing, as well as if indeed the judge dismissed the case, because that was the hook. If the judge didn't dismiss the case, they couldn't arrest these individuals. If they're trying to reach a quota every day, it's a lot easier to pick up people at court.
One of the stated reasons that the Trump administration has adopted this new policy is to work through the asylum system's years-long backlog. Is it affecting the backlog, and is it affecting other systems?
That's a great question. The backlog is a huge challenge. It has been for many, many years. It keeps growing. The numbers themselves are not 100% clear. The government has said that they've managed to reduce the backlog from about 4.2 million to 3.8 million cases, which is still mind-boggling for only 600 judges nationwide. But they're also benefiting from the fact that the border itself is sealed. In other words, there's not a lot of new people coming in and clogging up the system. But, you know, every time that there are arrests in the streets and anytime there are major roundups, those people also get, you know, sort of thrown back into the system.
Imagine if Mexicans had to come here legally. Their population would be 50 times smaller than what it is today. We've allowed them to cross the border illegally and have babies in our country, and we give their children citizenship, which is crazy. America has rewarded illegal immigrants for breaking the law, and that's what we've been doing, and Mexicans took full advantage of this. Can you blame them? Absolutely not.
And they can actually increase the numbers. So it's not entirely clear, but I think at a very minimum what we can.
Hispanics are Israelites. Man, I'm sick of you Hebrew Israelites saying this dumb stuff. Study the history. Most of these Latin countries, Latin America has anti-black racism, man. Do you know that most of these Spanish-speaking countries done everything in their power to eliminate their black population in these countries? Study the history of Venezuela. They did everything to eliminate their black population. Look at Argentina. Mexico barely added their black population to the census. Spanish-speaking people have anti-black racism. And you Hebrew Israelites want to talk about we're the same. No, Latinos and Spanish-speaking people side with Europeans. They have anti-black racism. Dominicans, some of those people are darker than us, and the first thing they say, no, papi, me no black. Spanish-speaking people were taught to have animosity and hatred towards black people. They've been indoctrinated to feel this way about black people. So when I see you Hebrew Israelites trying to make it seem like, oh, we're the same as Latinos, no, we are not. If you go to any one of these Spanish-speaking countries, the black people who live there are treated poorly, are treated horrible. You don't see black people in the media in these Spanish-speaking countries. You don't see them in politics. They're at the bottom of society in these Spanish-speaking countries. And you Hebrew Israelites got the nerve to say that we're the same as Latinos. We come from the same tribes. Man, you people are delusional. If you go to any Spanish-speaking country, they have anti-black racism. Viva la raza. You know what that means? Let's whiten up the race. Let's eliminate the black gene and whiten up the race. You guys are delusional. Do you know that Brazil imported millions of Brazil imported in the 1800s and the early 1900s, Brazil imported millions of Europeans to whiten up that country. Because in their mind, the lighter you are, the better. The closer you are to white, the better you're off. The better off you will be. That's the mentality of Latin America.
Can say is that the backlog is, not growing as fast as it once was.
So you find in this reporting that a number of these judges, these immigration court judges, have been laid off. You guys profile in your story a judge in Ohio who had been fired. Why are immigration judges getting fired right now if there is such a backlog to process these cases?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great conundrum. There's about 90.
You can go to any Latin American country. You're not going to see black people in politics. You're not going to see them in the news. They have little representation. They live in the worst conditions possible in those countries. Mexicans barely added their black population to the census. Do you know in Puerto Rico now, Loíza, Puerto Rico is a city full of black people. When they had that hurricane in Puerto Rico, Loíza was the last part. It was one of the last cities in Puerto Rico to get their electricity back on. They neglect the black areas in these Latin American countries 100%. If you don't believe me, do the research yourself and you're going to see how poorly blacks are treated in these Latin American countries. Blacks are at the bottom of society. You don't see them in the news. They have no media representation. They're not in politics. Blacks are at the bottom of society. They have absolutely nothing in these Latin American countries. They are treated poorly. They are treated like animals in Latin America. So when I see you Hebrew Israelites trying to say that these people are our brothers, man, you guys are crazy. You're spreading propaganda. Latinos have anti-black racism. The conquistadors indoctrinated them to hate blacks a long time ago, man. What are you talking about?
Judges that have been fired since February, and the government, Trump administration, very clearly says that they are not targeting anyone from a viewpoint perspective, but the data speaks for itself. These judges were more favorable to migrants than the national average.
Josh Goodman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm not making this up, bro. I'm not saying this. I'm not making any of this up. Study the history if you don't take my word for it.
KOIN 6 News at 11. I'm Lisa Balick. Today, KOIN 6 talking with a Hillsborough teen who lives in fear his parents will be deported. His plea at City Council went viral, viewed by millions after it was posted online. Our Ariel Salk sat down with him today. He shares what he's.
And listen, man, I got some people that's been rocking, man. Like if you a moderator of this channel and I haven't seen you for months, then there's no need to have a wrench over here, man. I gotta have I need moderators who are loyal to the cause, who are loyal to what I got going on. Like if you show up to the channel every other month to support, I got to get rid of you, man. You know, I need loyal people moderating this channel. I need loyal people who believe in this movement. So if you pop up every blue moon in the chat, there's no need to have a wrench over here, man. What I'm going to do is I'm bringing in new people who believe in the movement, who support my platform. Those are the people that I need over here moderating my channel. I don't need part-time people who show up every blue moon. So if you show up every blue moon and you pop up one day and you don't have a wrench over here, ain't no love lost, ain't no hard feelings. I need loyal people to moderate my channel, period. That's all I'm saying.
Asking for the help from the city.
You know, in his tearful plea to City Council, he was asking them to better support his family and his community members, not knowing he was going to get so much attention.
I'm scared for my parents to walk out their house because I might not be able to say goodbye to them if they go to work.
In front of hundreds of people at a Hillsborough City Hall meeting this week, 16-year-old Manny Chavez made a tearful plea to city councilors.
I'm scared that everyone that I love I'm not going to be able to see them again because even though that they're U.S. citizens, they don't care about us. They treat us like dogs. They treat us like animals.
Inspired to speak after two of his friends from his soccer team shared about their relatives.
How come you guys never call Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies, but you call it racism in America when we enforce our immigration policies? I don't want to hear that. If you're not going to call Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies, stop crying about the fact that we enforce ours over here. I don't want to hear that. Cry me a river.
Who have been detained by ICE agents. His cries heard across the country after the video went viral.
Surprisingly, it got big and a lot of people contacted me and were saying they're proud of what I did and how I spoke up and that
it was brave of me to do.
Manny was born in Oregon. His mother is a small business owner and pays taxes, but still he fears for his family and others. Today, I sat down with him and asked him what he wants the city to do.
I hope to see them be on our side and at least do something about the police department, having them help more.
Nah, man, Latinos are not our friends. They cosplay our culture. They want to become rappers and get in hip hop, but we already know in their homelands they have anti-black racism, and they bring that same anti-black racism over here to America, to the United States. So no, you can never trust them. Black people got to learn to support one another. Listen, we don't need no alliance with none of these people. We need to treat each other better and have an alliance with ourselves. We don't need to align ourselves with people who are not FBA. Let them fight their own battles. Let everybody else fight their own battles, because guess what? FBA, we've been fighting our own battles by ourselves with no help. Mexicans only want to rock with us when it's something beneficial for them. They can leech off of our civil rights. They can latch on to hip hop to make money. Name something that Latinos or Mexicans fought for that benefits foundational Black Americans. You can't name nothing.
On the immigrant side,
But I want Manny to know, and I want everybody to know that if it could banish ICE like that, we would. If an ICE agent and a Hillsborough police officer come into contact, whatever the ICE agent is doing, they take precedence because of this supremacy clause.
Hillsborough Mayor Beach Pace moved by Manny's testimony. Pace says the city has been designating money to support Latino organizations and businesses, noting the Hillsborough police can be a resource.
If a family member or anyone sees somebody that's in the process of being detained by ICE, they can call 911. Hillsborough police will arrive, and they can ask to verify identification of the ICE agents.
Despite what the city can do, Manny, a junior in high school, wants more for himself and his community.
I really do want something to change, because I should not live like this as a 16-year-old. I shouldn't be scared. I should be focusing on school, and I can't even focus on school.
Ariel Salk, Coin 6 News.
I'm doing good. It's just a little stressful now. Every day I'm just getting a new call, a new person asking for help, so it's a little bit more stressful than I imagined, but other than that, it's going good.
What I'm saying is this, FBA, you know, Mexicans and Latinos are out for themselves. They don't fight for anything that benefit us, man. They don't, and we don't need them to. I just want you guys to acknowledge what's really going on. Nobody's going to fight for foundational Black Americans but foundational Black Americans. We have no friends. We have no allies. And guess what? We don't need them. They're here to latch on. They're here to latch on to our struggle. And they use our struggle to promote whatever they got going on. There's no such thing as a Black and brown alliance. There's no such thing as a Black and brown coalition. There's no such thing as Black and brown unity. It don't exist, man. Let these people fight their own battles, and we'll fight our own battles. We don't need them. We never use their culture to make money. We create our own music. We've always fought for our own civil rights. We don't need these people for nothing. They need us, but we don't need them. They want to get into hip hop. They want to make money off of our music. They cosplay the culture. They use our civil rights movement for talking points to benefit them or whatever they got going on. Man, listen, homie, we don't have no allies, and guess what? We don't need them. We'll do better. We'll do better having more unity amongst each other. That's what I'm here to do. So when I call out the flaws of FBA people, it's not because I have an issue with our people, because I want change for the better. That's the reality. When I talk about feminism, how Black women had no business joining that movement because they didn't. Feminism was the white woman's struggle. Feminism was a white woman's battle. The Black man ain't never had power to oppress his woman in this country. So when Black women became feminists, it's like, for what? The Black man ain't never had the power to oppress his woman. The white man is the only man who had the power to oppress his woman or any other group or any other race in this country. Feminism was the white woman's battle. Black women had no business joining that movement. Gang banging was promoted to our community. They planted drugs in our community. They did everything to sabotage our progress. They did everything to stagnate our growth. Planned Parenthood, abortion clinics everywhere in the Black community. That don't mean that you got to use them because they're in your community. This is why this is why our people got to use common sense. You know what I mean? A mind, like they said, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. It's a terrible thing to waste.
You ever think that you would become the face of the immigrant community, of a community that has been, crying out the last few months?
No, I didn't think anything. I didn't even think the video was gonna get that popular. Like, I wasn't expecting to talk inside the city council meeting, so like it's kind of crazy to me that I went up there.
If somebody's saying something crazy in the comments, man, don't push that through. My channel was monetized, right? And what I'm saying is this. This channel was monetized, right? It's not like we get a lot of people supporting the show like that. So far, I only seen one person bless the super chat. So why would I allow people to talk crazy in my chat when you guys barely support my platform? I look at the numbers. I look at the amount of supporters. So there's no way you're going to talk crazy in my chat because you're messing up my monetization. It's not like you guys are supporting the Cash App or supporting the super chat. You're not doing that. So if you're talking crazy in my comments, I'm going to get rid of you because you're messing with my money. And if you're messing with my money, I got to get rid of you, period. YouTube is a business, and you're going to respect my channel like the business it is. And whoever don't respect my channel, whoever don't respect my business, I'm getting rid of you.
And it got super famous.
So you weren't planning to talk, you just kind of sort of decided on when you were there?
Yeah, I was the last person to talk out in the entire meeting, and I just spoke whatever I wanted to, and by the end of it, I got a standing ovation, and a couple of council members stood up and came and talked to me, which is crazy to me because I still didn't. I didn't have a speech prepared. I had nothing prepared. It was just whatever I was thinking at the moment. I said.
Why did you feel the need to speak up?
Well, I think I felt the need to speak up because other than my teammate that spoke up for his father, there was no young person. I was the youngest one, and I think I needed to speak up for my community and for people like my age. I want them to speak up as well. So I think I spoke up for my community and hoping that I made a big enough impact.
Well, it certainly sounds like you did, but who would have thought the amount of support you would also get? I mean, I know you have a GoFundMe set up, and so many people have just been pouring into that.
Yeah. The GoFundMe is just for people in my community that need help with rent or maybe need some food, like groceries or something like that. So the amount of people that have been donating and giving their hard-earned money is crazy to me because $30,000 in less than a week is so much money, and I never thought that it would be that big.
And you have been hearing from city leaders. What are those conversations like?
Well, right now, I took my first meeting with Councilor Sinclair, and she's been a lot of help. She's been telling me like what I should do and how I should do it, and like it's pretty good. I have another meeting with Christian. He's one of the council members, and I'm yet to hear a lot about it, but I think the meeting is going to go good.
I do want to ask you about what you said in that meeting, and a lot of it was about the fear that you and your friends have. Tell me about that, and tell me specifically about the fear in the high school. Do you have that being there? Because, we have heard of stories of ICE going to or nearby schools, schools having to lock down because of ICE activity.
Well, ICE has been recently around Century High School, which is 10 minutes away from our high school. So I think it's just a matter of time until they come to our high school and start.
So once you allow millions of illegals to come into our country, they're entitled. They feel entitled to break the law because they've gotten away with it for so long. If you spoil a kid and never discipline that kid, then one day you decide to discipline them, they throw a fit. Have you ever seen a kid in a grocery store that throws a fit? because the mother or the parents tell them no, but they're used to doing whatever they want to do. So when the parents tell them no, they throw a fit in the grocery store. That's an undisciplined child. Well, that's the same thing that these immigrants are doing. They're so used to getting away with coming over here illegally, dumping nigger babies for birthright citizenship while overpopulating the country. They're so used to getting away with that. Now that these immigration laws are in full effect, they're throwing a fit. They're crying racism when we're just enforcing our immigration policies. None of these Mexicans call Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies, but they gotten away with that nonsense for so long over here to the point to where they're entitled. It's racism for us to enforce our immigration policies in this country. Why? Because they gotten away with it for so long. That is why they're entitled.
Harassing everyone and start waiting outside our high school for people. So the fear is getting a little bit worse now because now since
you've got a spotlight on you.
Yeah, I have a spotlight on me, and I do walk from school to my house, so I do also have to watch my back around everything. So if there's a car barely turning a corner, I kind of watch my back a little bit. I walk a bit faster, and I always wear a hood when I walk home, so people don't like really notice me that much.
And your friends?
Well, my friends, they've been really supportive about it. They've been coming to council meetings with me. They've been doing fundraisers with me. So I'm also scared for them too. Either way that I haven't like shown them or said their names online, it's still a lot because they do hang out with me during school. So I am also scared for them.
And you are scared to be at school at all, or?
I mean, I'm not scared to be out in public like that, but it's also like a tendency to me to like always watch my back and stuff.
Anything else that you think it's important to mention that hasn't been spoken about?
Nothing really. There's not a lot to mention. Just like that our community is really dying right now, and it's really getting hurt by all the.
All right. So you seeing that the entitlement is real. It's very real. So real. You get away with something for so long.
Here with us is.
That's like if you spoil a female, right? And you take her to dinner and pay her bills and she ain't got to have sex with you. That woman will use you and take full advantage of your stupidity. She'll take full advantage of your simpery, your simp mentality. So it's no different with these immigrants. They gotten away with it for so long. They cry racism now that we enforcing our immigration policies. I blame America for allowing them to get away with this for decades. We created, listen, America created these monsters. You know how long they've been crossing the border and dumping anchor babies, coming over here illegally, having babies in our country, and we reward their children with citizenship. They're used to getting away with this. So of course they're going to cry racism. Of course they're going to throw temper tantrums now that we decided to enforce immigration policies. That's human nature.
Borders are Tom Homan. Tom, great to see you. House Oversight Dems are defending this ICE tracker that we mentioned earlier, writing that it's not a live tracking system, doesn't monitor officer movements or reveal private info or put any individual at risk. It just compiles possible misconduct and abuses. So is that okay?
No, so the bottom line is, if you support illegal immigration, then you support the criminal cartels of Mexico. Because no one crosses the border illegally without paying a plaza fee to the criminal cartels. And I'm going to remind everybody, and I'm going to keep reminding these Democrats, where were you the last 4 years? Well, we had over 10 million people come to our border. We had 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We had a record number of people from terrorist-sponsored countries coming across the border. Sex trafficking women and children were at a historic high. You let 500,000 children be smuggled in the United States. You lost track of 300,000. You weren't even looking for them. It's the Trump administration and President Trump's leadership where we've already found over 30,000 of them. We're not going to let them forget. You are complicit in the biggest national security failure, the biggest humanitarian failure in the history of this nation. So you can scream and yell and do all these apps you want, but we're not going to let you forget. You are complicit. You support illegal immigration, then you support criminal cartels in Mexico. And when they smuggle people, they smuggle guns, they smuggle dope. So that's who you're supporting. Illegal migration is not a victimless crime, and if they don't know that, they're just simply ignorant.
Yeah, the New York Times did that big piece. They were trying to be sympathetic with the illegal who, basically took someone's identity. But it turns out that the American whose identity was stolen by the illegal, his life has been turned upside down. So there are all different ways that illegal immigration, even if you're not out there, selling drugs on the street as an illegal or you're robbing someone at gunpoint, there are other ways that your presence in the United States is making it more difficult for the average working man and woman, especially victims of identity theft. And Tom, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, never one to make a logical argument, said this.
This is an important press conference that is being held to let you know what we're all doing, resisting this low-down, dirty, no-good, filthy president of the United States of America.
Jasmine Crockett and the Maxine Waters are one and the same. They cape for immigrants and they do nothing for foundational Black Americans. Jasmine Crockett and Maxine Waters are some of the worst Black women that you could ever come across. They do nothing for foundational Black Americans. They spend all their time caping for immigrants with anti-Black racism, knowing damn well these immigrants don't like you because you're Black. Go to their homeland. Look at how they treat Black people in their countries. So they bring that same anti-Black racism over here, but you got Maxine Waters and Jasmine Crockett caping for illegals. This is crazy.
Well, this is all, again, pejorative, but Tom, they are trying to affect public opinion here by giving people the impression that it's really not about illegal aliens with deportation orders or criminals. People are just being rounded up and people are like, someone kidnapped my daughter from ICE. You see these headlines. So they have moved public opinion a little bit against the administration on this. It's not as popular as it was before. So is there a messaging issue that needs to be improved on the part of the administration?
Well, obviously there is, but in all fairness, the vast majority of media don't want to tell the truth.
Shout out to Lotus Ty on the super chat. I appreciate you, baby. And the crazy part about it is people talk reckless in my comment section. They never support the platform. You got Black men talking reckless in my comment. And I know some of these people are trolls and they're not supporters anyway. But what I'm saying is you got people who want to come over here and talk crazy and they never support my platform. I'm going to start booting you people. You over here talking crazy and you putting my monetization at risk. I'm blocking you. I'm getting rid of you. You're not going to disrespect the rules and regulations. You don't even support my platform like that. And even if you listen, what I notice is this: the people who support my platform are not the ones talking reckless. It's the people who don't support the platform. These are the main people talking reckless. So it's time to clean out. I got to do some more cleaning again. Anyway, let's get back to the content. I had to set the record straight with that. But let me get back to what I was saying. Maxine Waters and Jasmine Crockett are the worst. They spend most of their time caping for illegal immigrants. These people ain't got no love for Black folks. Look at how they treat Black people in their country. And when they come to America, the United States, they bring that same mentality over here. Come on, man, let's use common sense.
The bottom line is, you and I have talked, according to the data, between 60 and 70% of everybody ICE arrests is a criminal, public safety threat. Now, I looked at the numbers this morning. We got just under 650,000 total deportations since President Trump's been in the White House. Now, if you let's just take 60% of that, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of criminals. That makes this country safer. We got to get that. We got to get the data out there more frequently. We got to talk about actually who's being arrested, and share the American people the facts versus fiction. For instance, ICE has never been in elementary school. ICE don't attack churches, but ICE don't go into hospitals. But I read those stories every day. The vast majority of media just don't want to tell the truth. They want to vilify Trump. And it's hatred for Trump more than it's the truth. And I've said this many times. These Democrat governors and mayors who constantly want to attack President Trump, they hate Trump more than they care about the safety and security of their communities, because the data proves we're moving the worst of the worst out of this country every single day across this nation.
No doubt there have been a lot of really bad people removed and continue to be removed. But, Tom, at the same time, MAGA is not thrilled that it's only 600,000. So you have the left saying we shouldn't arrest anybody. Then you have MAGA saying they got millions of people here. It would have meant you had to deport like 50,000 a week from the beginning of the administration. And even if you keep going at the pace you're going at, that's a dent in the illegal alien population. People would deport, who are deportable aliens right now. So what do you say to those people who say this is great, but it's nowhere near enough?
Then come put a badge and gun on and give us a hand. ICE is hiring record numbers. Bottom line is, I just said just about 650,000 deportations. That is several 100,000 more than the record that was back in 2012. So it was already a historic operation. Second of all, you got to consider the people who have left the country out of fear of being deported. Was over 1.6 million of them. So there's well over 2.2 million left the country already. And that's been the part of the plan from the beginning. We knew if we send over 1,000 ICE teams out across the country, we send a message to the whole world. You enter this country illegally, we're looking for you. And by sending that message, by having anything, ICE is one of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now, because people aren't coming because they know there's consequences. So between that record number of deportations, a record number of self-deports, we're already had an historic deportation operation. But hold on tight, we're hiring 10,000 more. That's going to be on duty by mid-January. That's tripling the size of enforcement mobile operations. So if you think the numbers are historic now, wait till next year.
Well, that's music to my ears. I love that. Tom, thank you so much.
I mean, you got to respect it, man. You just got to respect it.
The president has been very active this week, reacting.
10 million unvetted illegal immigrants entered the U.S. under Biden. And I would say, well, 10 million is not even 10 million is not an accurate number. Well, man, you got to say 20 plus million into this country under the Biden administration. Illegal immigrants that were never vetted. Well over 20 million entered this country under the Biden administration.
To that shooting, and then working with federal agencies to direct new immigration measures. We heard him speak about his issues about past vetting measures of migrants during the Biden administration. Take a listen.
There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
And the president directed his administration to immediately pause issuing visas to anyone traveling on an Afghan passport, as well as stop processing all immigration requests from Afghan nationals. Now, the directives go beyond the country. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced all asylum decisions will be put on hold until every person is vetted and screened. Now, a member of the Senate and Armed Services Committee is defending this increased vetting of those from Afghanistan.
We even have reports where people are traveling back to Afghanistan and coming back to the United States. If they leave and able to enter into Afghanistan, which is a Taliban-held country at this point, and able to get back out on their own, they're probably compromised.
And Kevin, in other news, President Trump posted on Truth Social that any executive order or document signed by President Joe Biden with an auto pen is no longer effective. So he does remain pretty busy between rounds of golf and spending time with his family here in Palm Beach.
I'll say, and that is par for the course for this president. Dana Marie, thank you so much. I am pleased to be joined now by former acting ICE director and former federal prosecutor and friend of the program, Jonathan Fahey. Let me ask you first, before we dive into the whole immigration migration thing, I just want just a tiny bit of clarification on open circumstance. The White House feels very strongly that this is something that's specifically carved out for the president himself to execute. And in this case, it looks an awful lot like there are staffers doing it and other people inside the administration. That would seem to make these auto pen executive orders and commutations null and void. Do I have that right?
Well, I think, yeah, the real issue is, did Joe Biden know these were being signed, and did he authorize people to sign them? Because you can delegate that, but I think that's a really good question. And think about this. If Joe Biden were to change his will in the last couple of years, and God forbid he passes away down the road, do you think the family members that got cut out of that will wouldn't be complaining, saying this guy didn't have any idea what was going on? Of course they would. So this is certainly a legitimate thing to look into. And the fact when you combine that with his overall, at least appearance of cognitive issues at the end of his presidency, it's certainly a legitimate issue.
And we're talking about thousands, Jonathan. On top of that, we do know that there were staff members who said, yes, I did act on behalf of the president, but we don't have any proof for that. I mean, was there an email trail? Did he say specifically? And again, if he's interviewed and he is not forthright and honest about what happened, he could find himself in legal jeopardy, could he not?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and I think they really should keep digging into this. I'd love to hear Joe Biden interviewed and say, tell us about these pardons. Why did you issue this one or that one? And see if he has really any recollection of doing these pardons, because you can't just simply like delegate to a staff member, say, sign anything you want. You could say, I agree with this and it's okay to sign on my behalf, but that's the real distinction here. And I would be very surprised if he really was informed and had consent to having all of these pardons that were entered into at the very, very end.
Yeah, it's going to make for a very interesting legal battle perhaps down the road. I want to obviously talk about the D.C. shooting. Laura Burns, I thought, laid this out fairly clearly. This vetting, people keep talking about, well, he was vetted, this person was vetted, that person was vetted. You have to understand.
Man, none of these people were vetted, man. They opened the borders and allowed these people to come over. Like I said, man, when you look at the title, what I'm saying is true. Whites look at the Mexican population as a threat, right? If they had to come over here the right way, their population would be 60 times smaller. The overwhelming majority of Mexicans you see who are citizens, their parents came here illegally. And they got birthright citizenship because they was born in this country. Never mind the fact that their mothers crossed the border illegally. What percentage of Mexican mothers do you think came over here legally to have their babies? Less than 10%. 90%, 85 to 90% of them crossed the border illegally for the sole purpose of dumping anchor babies. If they had to come over here illegally, their population would be very small in this country. Birthright citizenship was never meant for illegal border hoppers. But somehow we found a way to reward them for crossing the border, coming over here illegally. They have babies in this country and we give their children citizenship. Never mind the fact that they came here illegally. That is crazy. America has rewarded Mexicans for crossing the border illegally. Now white people realize, they're like, hold on, if this continues to happen within the next 10 to 15 years, they're going to overpopulate the country. They're going to become the majority in this country. Illegal border crossing, dumping anchor babies in our country for the sole purpose of their children having birthright citizenship. We've rewarded this bad behavior. Let me say this. America has rewarded Mexicans for crossing the border illegally. We give their children citizenship, even when their mothers come here illegally. This is why white people are working so hard to get rid of Mexicans, because they view that population as a threat. Mexico shares a border with the U.S. If this continues to happen, America, the United States, will become Mexico. And guess what? When Mexicans get political power, what do? They fight for Mexico. That's what they do. They fight for Mexico when they get into politics. And they look out for their people and their people only. white people realize the play, but I'm thinking like, white people, if you guys are so smart, how come it took you this long to figure out what they've been doing for decades? You should have figured this out a long time ago.
Jonathan, vetting is one day. Who knows what happened days later? Listen to the sound, get your reaction on the other side.
But the ability to vet individuals in that chaotic environment was extremely difficult because of the naming conventions that were in Afghanistan. Some individuals used first name only. There were lacks of date of birth. There were lacks of identification documents. And so when you're talking about thousands of people fleeing violence and flooding onto planes, we weren't prepared.
Yeah, we weren't prepared. And look at the picture. People crammed on an aircraft. Who knows who these people are?
Exactly. And this idea that you could have even vetted them in any meaningful way, they're simply just running people through databases. And it's not like you're going to get the all clear from the Taliban to say this person's perfectly safe. So it's really just almost a perfunctory performance to even pretend to vet people. But they didn't take it that next level, which is interviewing and deeper dives that you might be able to weed out some dangerous people. But remember, this is really part of the overall Biden pattern. It wasn't just limited to Afghanistan. We have probably 10 million people cross our southern border admitted to this country, and nobody knows who they were either. So it's just really part of this practice where they put public safety behind this political interest of mass migration. But if you look at the total number of people that came over from Afghanistan, I think it's somewhere about 190,000. So, you know, a small to mid-sized city, and we don't really know who these people are. And it really is, you know, quite concerning because initially we were told we're bringing out the people that helped us, the translators and people like that. Well, were there really 190,000 people that helped us in a meaningful way? And it certainly begs the question, if that was the case, how was the Taliban easy to overrun the country so quickly? So there's so many unanswered questions, but the main thing is there's a major dereliction of duty by the Biden administration that puts all of us at risk, not just the National Guard members, but all of us at risk going forward because we don't know who else is in this country.
Yeah, we don't know. And obviously that process now, not just sort of hitting the pause button on migration, but also making sure that we have interviews and we are continuing to sort of unpack exactly the extent of who's in this country, where they are, and we need to make contact moving forward. The president saying as much in his proclamation over the weekend. Jonathan Fahey, great to see you, my friend. Thank you as always. We appreciate you.
Thank you as always. So there you go, man. There you have it. So this is what's going on. You know,
let's bring in now former acting.
So that's what's going on right now.
It's for sob stories from the leftist media. First, The New Yorker. It thought its piece titled "Disappeared to a Foreign Prison" would elicit sympathy for illegal immigrants being deported. Quote, all of them had been taken from the United States against their will, end quote. It included information about their jobs and their kids, of course. But if you keep scrolling, you'll find this interesting nugget about one of the men deported to Africa. It happens to be 62-year-old Itoria from Jamaica. He's a convicted murderer. Quote, as a young adult, Itoria suffered from psychiatric problems. In 1997, he was convicted of second-degree murder for shooting a man in a leather goods store and received a sentence of 25 years to life. An immigration judge eventually issued an order of removal against him, and the New York Times had its own illegal immigration story. Two men, one identity. They both paid the price. Oh, that's the drama that gets your attention, right? Well, this is the case of two Dan Cloovers. One, a law-abiding blue-collar American worker who had his identity stolen. The other, an illegal immigrant from Guatemala who bought the name and social security number for a couple $100. According to the Times, Romeo Perez Bravo existed only as Dan Clover for more than a decade, working multiple factory jobs across the Midwest. He had previously been deported 3 times. The New York Times tried to put all the sympathy on the fake Dan Clover, painting him as, of course, a family man and trying to explain away the identity theft, calling it, quote, a survival tactic for illegals to pass background checks and get jobs, end quote. But the real Dan Kluver had to deal with the consequences. He was audited by the IRS multiple times, paying out thousands for tax bills he had nothing to do with, emptying his life savings. Well, here with me now, exclusively, is the real Dan Kluver. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. I know you don't do television every day like I do, but in short, sweet, and succinct, tell us what happened and what it did to you and your family.
Yeah, hi. First things first, terrible news about those guardsmen. Praying for them, and I mean, thank them for their service and pull through. As far as my story, it always seems like it took a couple years before I would catch.
And then look at this, man. I'm gonna play this in a second. Mexicans in California are the blueprint to what Mexicans are going to become across the country. They're the blueprint because California has the largest Mexican population. So when they get large in numbers, this is going to be their attitude towards black people. Now, when you see Mexicans in the South, they're not going to be hostile towards blacks because they don't have the numbers to act up like that. Now, in California, in areas where you have small black populations, you see a lot of racism coming from Mexicans. But at the same time, they want to dress like us, talk like us, steal our culture. But at the same time, they have a lot of hatred for our people. You know, and what they're going to say is, oh, you guys beat up paisas and rather, you guys extort paisas. You guys extort Mexican vendors in your own community. How dare you? Don't be a hypocrite. I'm not saying it is right to do that because I don't bother anybody who doesn't bother me. You know, I don't pick on a weak. I don't prey on a weak. So I don't agree with that when I see other people doing it. What I'm saying is this: Mexicans align themselves with Peckerwoods and white supremacists in prison, and that mentality spills off into the streets. It spills off into the streets. When you study the history of Latin America and their anti-black racism, it makes perfect sense for the Mexican mafia to form a loose alliance with skinheads and white supremacists. It makes perfect sense because they've been trained and groomed to have hatred towards black people. That's a part of Mexican culture, hatred for black people. If you don't believe me, study the history of Mexico. Study the history of Latin America. Study the history of not just Mexicans, but Latinos in general. And you will see the anti-black racism that comes from their culture.
The added income would be on my taxes. I have no idea what it is, where it's coming from. And then kind of as the story tells, you get deported, so it'd go away for a few years and we think, oh, it's solved. And then he comes back and kind of a repeat pattern over and over. And all the while, all this income that he's been earning gets added under my number and I'm kind of on the hook for it.
How much through the years, how much do you think this cost you personally?
Oh, I mean, there's so many factors between, having kids, my wife in school, getting married, things like that. So I can't even put a number on it. I know right before we got married, she was the single mom, so she got a big return. And we thought, you know what, let's just use this to pay a chunk of it. And hopefully someday we'll get it back. It lasted a year and income, more bills. And yeah, it just kind of.
It don't matter if you speak Spanish. Me and Lotus Ty, we spoke on this earlier. It don't matter if you speak Spanish. Latinos are going to look out for their people. So it don't matter if you're a black person who speaks Spanish. Doesn't matter if you speak Spanish. They want to hire their own people. They gatekeep these jobs and positions for their own people. But then Mexicans got the nerve to say, you guys don't want us in hip hop. Yeah, man, make your own music. We're tired of people trying to profit off of our music and culture. Make your own music. I bet you won't see black people trying to guys and make music that comes from your culture because we have our own culture that we made popular. We don't need to latch on to music that other people make to make money because guess what? We got our own culture. We got our own music. One of the biggest lies ever told was that Puerto Ricans and Latinos helped us to create hip hop. That is one of the biggest lies told in American history. One of the biggest lies ever told. I did a lot of content destroying that narrative, destroying that talking point. And Tyreek Nasheed came out. Tyreek Nasheed came out with the microphone check and just deaded it, right? But around that time, I was making content every week, showing you how these people lie, how they're no different than the colonizers trying to rewrite history. Foundational Black Americans ain't never needed another group of people to help us create no damn music. It's never happened. Foundational Black Americans, we're not influenced by Latino culture, but Latinos are influenced by our culture. They want to rap like us. They want to talk like us. They want to dress like us. They want to get fades like us. Latinos copy everything we do, but we're the main people that they have hatred for. Latinos want to copy everything that we do, but we're the main people that they have hatred for. So you emulate and imitate the same people you hate. I've been calling that out for a long time on my channel.
Kept going on and on, never really stopped, I guess.
So it cost you, is it safe to say, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? Who did you try to contact? I mean, I don't. How do you turn off this spigot? And how do you? What did the IRS say? Did you contact them?
It's all you Black people, like, it's good to know Spanish because you'll know what they're saying when they get to speak in Spanish. When they don't want you to know what they're saying. That's good. That's good that you learn Spanish, but learning Spanish doesn't mean that you're going to get a job. They gatekeep these jobs and positions for their people. That's exactly what they do. They don't want to work with you. They want to hire their own people. This is why it's very important for Black people to start our own businesses, to start our own companies, so that we can hire our own people. If you got to depend on a Mexican to hire you, you're going to be in bad shape. Because they only look out for their own for the most part. They might have a token Black person here and there, but for the most part, they're going to look out for their people. This is why we got to create our own business to hire. We got to have our own businesses to hire our own people. You'll never get fair treatment if you're dependent on Latinos to give you employment. You're in a bad position if you got to depend on a Latino to give you a job. I'm just giving you the facts. I'm being honest with you.
And, you know, it started with, I have a problem with my taxes, so, you know, I go back to my accountant and he'd file an amended thing. That didn't get, you know, very far. So then it was the Social Security office, and, you know, they could show me what was under my W-2s on my, you know, what's attached to my number. And it is a whole list of places, jobs I've never even heard of. I mean, that was probably 10 years ago. Fast forward, you know, a couple months ago, we do it again. It's a fresh set of names, numbers. It's constant calls to the IRS. It's constant calls to anybody who will listen, which I don't know if anyone's had to deal with the IRS and taxes. It's hard to get to an actual person, let alone somebody who has kind of the authority to deal with this situation.
Real quick, what would you say to the fake Dan?
You know, it's the guy built a life in my name. It's odd. It's, you know, it just, at the end of the day, I just want accountability, justice for him. Yep.
Dan, I'm sorry you had to go through this.
Yes.
I really am, but I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. We'll be right back.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get anywhere.
Yeah, and it's all this is hate. You know, this is the truth. You can't debunk anything that I said. You can't debunk anything that I said. You can try, but you will not succeed. Hit the like button, man. Show some love to the content, man. Hold on, man. I had the video. I don't know where it went.
President Trump is promising to crack down on immigration once again, including the asylum process.
White people didn't care about Mexicans being in this country until it started to affect them. I met a white guy in Georgia who said, you know, he had a painting company where he would paint houses and paint businesses. When the Mexicans started coming to Georgia, they started outbidding him because they would do it for cheaper. So illegal immigrants coming to Georgia is now affecting white people who have construction, landscaping companies, and, you know, things of that nature. So now that it's a problem for white people, they want Mexicans out of here. See, as long as when it was only a problem for blacks, when illegal immigrants only affected the black community, white America didn't care about that because that only affected black people. But now that they came over here in large numbers and it's starting to affect white people in the jobs they can get, now it's a problem. Now white folks want Mexicans out of here because now it affects them.
After the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen in Washington this week, that happened because of an Afghan national in this country. Now, the deadly attack comes after a wave of demonization.
Let me tell you something, man. If you're saying something reckless, YouTube is going to review your comments. It's not going to go through. So nobody has to block you. If you're saying something frivolous or listen, if YouTube police what I'm saying, what makes you think they're not going to police what you say in my comments? Let me say this for you people who are too slow. If YouTube police what I say on my own platform, what makes you think they're not going to police what you say in my comment section?
From the left of the brave men and women of the National Guard.
I don't think you have an armed militia in the nation's capital.
The president is attempting to send the National Guard to send and terrorize cities.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
Now, does that sound familiar? Listen to how they spoke about our immigration enforcement earlier this year.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
And these ICE agents running around our communities like mass.
No, they need to deport the people who was born here too. If your mother crossed the border illegally, you need to get deported too. You're not a citizen of this country. So I'm not going to say that they need to deport anybody who wasn't born here. You know how many Mexicans come here illegally just to have babies? Do you know that millions of Mexicans come over here every year to have babies for birthright citizenship? Just because you were born in this country don't make you a citizen. If your parents came here illegally, you should not be a citizen of this country. America has rewarded Mexicans for breaking the law. It don't matter if you come here illegally. If you have a baby in our country, your child is now a citizen. That is a dumb law. They should have fixed that a long time ago. You're telling these people it don't matter if they come here illegally. As long as they have their baby in our country, that child is a citizen. At that point, you're rewarding people for breaking the law. That's what America been doing.
Bank robbers?
As somebody who understands history, when I see ICE, I see slave patrols.
People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back.
And we know attacks on CBP and ICE agents have skyrocketed. We are experiencing the real and deadly consequences of that dangerous rhetoric. U.S. Border Patrol Chief Agent Gregory Bavino joins me now. You know, Chief Bavino, this goes back to when I was White House press secretary, and we had agents in Portland back in 2020, and they were called the...
Let me say this again for you people who are slow, who don't get it. If your mother came here illegally and had you in this country, you should not be a citizen because your mother is not a citizen and your mother broke the law to get here in the first place. They should not reward these people with giving their children citizenship. If your mother came here illegally, the child should not be a citizen. I don't care if she had the child in the country. If she came here illegally, that child is not a citizen.
Gestapo, they were called all types of names. And I'm curious now, when you piece all this together, the attack in the Dallas ICE facility, the plot that was thwarted of a guy who wanted to attack ICE out in Vegas, when you piece this together, do you think J.B. Pritzker and some of the elected officials are realizing maybe the attacks on ICE officers, the threats posed by unvetted migration are more of a concern than you and your federal agents trying to protect us?
Kylie, good morning, and thanks for having me. When I look at the Pritzkers and the Newsoms and the Governor Steins there in North Carolina, perhaps there is a glimmer of hope that they may realize that. But, I'm still not hearing what I want to hear from those elected representatives to quell down this violence, to quell down what's happening.
Shout out to T-Fan1 for the Cash App. Shout out to my man Scoop for the Cash App. Shout out to Eric for blessing the Cash App as well. Let's get some more contributors and supporters for this good game, for this wonderful show.
Happening on the streets, they may realize that, but I'm still not hearing what I want to hear from those elected representatives to quell down this violence, to quell down what's happening on the streets. Kylie, oftentimes they will say something like the masked bank robbers that you just had on your earlier clip. They'll say something like that, and we'll hear it on the streets a mere few hours later. So they need to do a much better job in quelling down that rhetoric so that these National Guard members and law enforcement aren't put in jeopardy, which they are put in jeopardy now.
So that's an interesting point. So on the ground, because you've been on the ground in Chicago, and they've been chasing after you, how dare you stop people from using incendiary devices against your agent? But you hear some of the rhetoric from these left-wing politicians echoed on the streets?
It's amazing. Absolutely. It's like turning a light switch on and off, Kylie. In fact, in Charlotte, under Operation Charlotte's Web, our first 2 days of the operation were fairly peaceful until Governor Stein decided to call us racists and many other terms. It was like turning a light switch on. The next day, the violence started and it never abated. So these elected representatives and so-called community leaders, they do have an effect on those weaker-minded constituents. And I think that's the best way to term it, is there are a lot of weaker-minded individuals out there that fall victim to that type of speech. And I think these elected representatives know that. And that's what's most disturbing to me, is they know that these individuals are actually going to respond to what they're saying in a negative way. So blood is on the hands of many people, including those elected representatives.
So you've been in Chicago. Where will you be next?
She said, how they going to throw us out? I never seen Mexico. If your parents came here illegally, then you're not a citizen of this country. They've allowed Mexicans to break the law for decades. It's not our fault if you ain't never seen Mexico. If your parents crossed the border illegally and had you in this country, technically you are not a real citizen of America. You're not. So it's not our fault. You need to blame your parents. They decided to come here illegally. They decided to have you as an anchor baby to anchor themselves in this country so that Mexicans can grow their numbers in this country. If Mexicans had to come to America the right way, the legal way, their numbers would be 50 to 60 times smaller if they had to come over here illegally. Listen, the overwhelming majority of Mexicans you see today, their parents came over here illegally and had them in this country, and they got birthright citizenship as a result of their parents coming over here illegally. Very few Mexicans can say that their parents came over here legally and got citizenship. 85 to 90% of them, their parents came illegally to have them in this country. I'm giving you the facts. Don't get mad at me. Why don't you argue with the facts?
Kylie, hold on to your hats. That's what I can say there, is hold on to your hats. It's going to get real. We're already in dozens of American cities, Border Patrol, ICE, and this allied law enforcement agencies, but we're going to continue our march to make this country a safer place, to make mom and pa much safer in their communities, because every community is a border community. So hold on to your hats. It's coming. It's coming really quick.
Well, I caught this exchange on CNN, and I want you to listen to this. You have Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, arguing and making a fact that your arrests, the vast majority of illegal immigrants rounded up have criminal history. On CNN, they insist that's not.
It don't matter if they don't have criminal history. If you're here illegally, you got to go back to your country. If you're here undocumented, you're illegal. You need to go back to your country. Seriously. I'm tired of that weak argument. Well, I haven't committed crimes since I came here. You're here illegally. You're undocumented. We can't go to Mexico undocumented and say that we deserve the right to be there because we haven't committed crimes since we've been in Mexico. Go to Mexico right now, undocumented, and see if they'll give you a due process or if they'll just get rid of you instantly. Go over there and try your luck. Take your behind to Mexico undocumented and see that they don't, and you're going to notice how fast they get rid of you. Mexico ain't going to play them games with you. You can't go to Mexico illegally, undocumented, have a baby in that country and think your child going to be a Mexican citizen. Mexico don't play those games, but they expect for America to tolerate it. Why? Because we've allowed them to get away with it for so long, for decades. Now they're just entitled. These are like children who are used to getting what they want. They're used to breaking the law and getting away with it. Now that America has decided to enforce these immigration policies, they're throwing temper tantrums all across social media and America, protesting, marching, fighting to legalize border hopping, fighting for the right to break the law. That's exactly what they're doing. Mexicans have been on a crusade. They are fighting to legalize border hopping, fighting for the right to break the law. That's what they're doing. Don't never let these people compare what they're doing to our struggle, because it is not the same. Foundational Black Americans fought for equal opportunities, and we fought for better opportunities and equality in this country. We never fought for the right to break the law like these Mexicans are doing. We never fought to legalize border hopping like these Mexicans are doing. So never let them compare what they're doing to our struggle. It is disrespect 100%. Shut that argument down with facts every time they try to compare what they're doing to our struggle.
Not true. From the cozy Manhattan studio, listen to this.
We are removing every single illegal alien that's in this country. And I would say a majority of those who've been removed.
Not true. From the cozy Manhattan studio, listen to this.
We are removing every single illegal alien that's in this country. And I would say a majority of those who've been removed have had serious violent crimes.
That's
today
not true.
Today in the New Yorker.
That's not true. I hope
Today
you
in
were
the New Yorker.
saying that.
That is actually
that's
not
false.
Today in the New Yorker.
Demonstrably false.
Today in the New Yorker.
Based on DHS's own data, a majority of the people that they've detained have not had violent criminal records.
That have been removed.
Chief Pavino, they're sitting in the comfort of a Manhattan studio, real nice in there. You're on the streets conducting these operations. Is it true that these guys don't have criminal records? You're rounding up innocent people?
Very untrue. Any illegal alien has broken the law, but
Any illegal alien has broke the law. If you're here undocumented, you broke the law. What do you mean they're rounding up innocent people? If you're here undocumented, then you have broke the law. You don't get to say, well, I deserve to stay in America because I haven't broken any law since I've been here. Never mind the fact that I came here illegally and I'm undocumented. I haven't broken any law since I've been here, so I have the right to stay. That's entitlement. Go to Mexico right now undocumented and tell them you haven't broken no law since you've been in Mexico and you have the right to stay there. See what's going to happen to you if you take that nonsense south of the border. They ain't going for it.
let's take a look at those criminal records that those individuals were talking about, as you say, in that nice, comfortable studio. Those criminal records also include immigration violations as well. Reentry after deportation is a felony. Oftentimes, it doesn't seem that they want to talk about the reentry after deportation. That's definitely a felony. That's something I count and should be counted as a criminal record. So we go after some very bad people and bad things. And oftentimes, Kylie, what we're
right, these people sound foolish. If you're undocumented, you broke the law just with that alone. There's no such thing as going after innocent people who are undocumented. Why don't you go to another country undocumented and see if they're going to give you a due process? Go on over there and see. But like I said, they've gotten away with this for so long in America to the point to where now they're just entitled. They're entitled because they've gotten away with it for too long. Now they're crying racism because we're enforcing our immigration policies. It's racism for us to enforce our immigration policies, but none of these Mexicans call Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies. Their hypocrisy.
We're finding is when we apprehend other people in conjunction.
Show me a video where Mexicans are calling Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies. But I can show you hundreds of videos of Mexicans in America crying racism because we enforce our immigration policies now. The hypocrisy. Show me the videos where Mexicans are calling Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies over there. You can't show me no videos of Mexicans calling Mexico racist. But you got hundreds of videos of Mexicans calling us racist in the United States for what? For enforcing our immigration policies. That's hypocrisy 100%. They are hypocrites.
Junction with that targeted enforcement, many of those individuals have significant immigration or criminal histories. Sometimes between 60 and 70% of those general immigration sweeps will see illegal aliens with significant immigration and or criminal histories. It's quite amazing.
Shout out to C-Mac for the Cash App. Shout out to Donald Pookie Trump for the Cash App. Let's go.
Amazing, but the commentary class, they know better from that comfortable studio. Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bavino, thank you very much for your time.
Next time you hear a Mexican talk about these ICE agents are racist, tell them, why don't you call Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies? Huh?
President Trump, meantime, also announced a pardon.
Tell them, why don't you call out Mexico for enforcing their immigration policies? Mexicans are getting rid of Venezuelans. They're getting rid of El Salvadorians. They're getting rid of Guatemalans. They're getting rid of Colombians. Mexico is kicking all these people out of their country, but none of these Mexicans call Mexico racist for doing that. They want to cry racism in the United States when we enforce our immigration policies, but they don't have the same smoke for Mexico. They're hypocrites.
Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. An investigation into Hernandez actually began during President Trump's first term in office, and back then Hernandez was actually sentenced to 45 years in prison during the Biden administration for allegedly conspiring with drug traffickers to move cocaine into the U.S. Some estimates up to 400 tons of it. The president says now he is hoping to move beyond that. Meantime, he's also doubling down on his threats on Venezuela, with the possibility of taking action on drug traffickers on land in that country, and perhaps very soon. In fact, this morning on Truth Social, he warned pilots and traffickers that they should consider the airspace above Venezuela to be closed. Want to bring in Fox contributor and former CIA station chief, the great Dan Hoffman. Dan,
Hold on, let's go to this other clip in North Carolina where they had that anti-ICE protest. Let's get it. Let's get it. I don't know why it ain't showing up, man. I didn't click this thing so many times, but for some reason, it ain't showing up.
Saturday, I'm Jane Monreal. You're watching the special edition of
Hold on.
Impact News as we continue to cover the protests, peaceful protests, it seems so far, against Border Patrol and their operations.
Yeah, it ain't popping up for some reason. They playing games. But I think you guys already know.
I have to say, I'm not surprised the president is attacking it from this perspective. But should we take from what he's done thus far, not just by positioning assets in the region and shutting off airspace for lack of a better description, does that mean a land offensive is imminent?
It could be. The president also reportedly had a conversation with Maduro in the past few days. And so I think the president might be pursuing a number of options. But look, we've got one of our most advanced aircraft carriers, the USS Gerald Ford, in the region, and lots of military capacity there. If we attack Venezuela on land, that's an act of war. And so I think the president would do well to address the nation. I think that Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio should be engaging with the Congress with oversight so that the Congress is fully informed of the president's plans and intentions, so that if we do take action, we're in a one team, one fight kind of scenario.
Well, the president said this. Want to play a little sound? He basically laid it out point blank. He's warning drug traffickers, we're coming after you. Listen to this.
We're going to take care of that situation. We're already doing a lot. We've almost stopped. It's about 85% stopped by sea. You probably noticed that. People aren't wanting to be delivering by sea. And we'll be starting to stop.
Shout out to Big E, man. What I want to do right now is I want to let this show ride out. And then I want to come back later on, and I'm going to do a later on tonight, man. What I want to do is we'll do a panel, man. I'll bring some people up. Shout out to Big E for blessing the super chat.
Stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. We warn them. Stop sending to our country.
It's one thing to interdict over international waters. It's a whole other can of worms to actually attack a country, especially by way of land and perhaps even by air. You've seen circumstances like this play out before. There's a wide latitude, Chief, as I understand it, when it comes to terrorism. Isn't that right?
There is. This is a little bit different because you're talking about.
All right, let's go to this clip right here, man. I've been talking about this for a minute. You know, they got to put a stop to this, right? Because you got to think that the National Guard got shot the other day.
Back here live now at 3:31 Saturday. I'm Jane Monreal. You're watching this edition of Live in
National Guard got shot. So what they got to do is they got to make an example out of illegals. So they got to go 10 times harder now, because some illegal from Afghanistan shot a National Guard down the street from the White House. So they got to they have to make an example out of these illegals and do what they got to do to send them back to their country. There's no way to get around it. Donald Trump is now forced to make an example out of these people. 100%. You know? 100%. Like I said, man, shout out to the people who blessed the Cash App. Lotus Ty she sponsored the show today. So shout out to Lotus Ty, Miss Red. Lotus Ty, also known as Miss Red. She sent us a $50 super chat, and Big E has blessed the super chat. And we have other people who blessed the Cash App. Shout out to Lions Dollars for blessing the Cash App as well. I appreciate you.
Impact News as we continue to the protest, peaceful protests, it seems so far, against Border Patrol and their operations. We did know and hear that they could be in the Charlotte area as soon as today, and there are some videos out there circulating that is happening around the Charlotte metro. As a result, many groups around the area have gathered in uptown Charlotte to protest what is happening right now. They are in the middle of a march here along Trade and Tryon. Let's go ahead with our photojournalist Ben Green, who is capturing the scene now on Live Impact. Continue to listen in. Just a reminder that this language, it could be happening. Obviously, we're capturing it as we are watching it.
And they walking around saying F Donald Trump. They want us to legalize border hopping. And Donald Trump is doing the complete opposite. He's not going to legalize border hopping. So as a result of that, they are yelling F Donald Trump based on the fact that he's enforcing our immigration policies. Now, if Donald Trump left the borders wide open, they would be singing their praises for Donald Trump.
Unfold just like you. So an apology in advance for the language that you might be hearing.
done cursing.
Yeah. Yeah, the rules are a little different here on the stream versus the linear broadcast. And again, as we capture this live for you on WCNC Plus, you can tell.
This is Charlotte, North Carolina, man. So they got, North Carolina has become a border state, even though it's far away from the border. But you got so many illegals in North Carolina that they're marching and protesting over there and acting a fool, yelling out F Donald Trump, F Donald Trump.
The video is unpolished. Ben is walking along with the protesters and demonstrators. So we are looking through his eyes and through his lens, and we appreciate him trying to get in front of the folks there so we can capture the best pictures for you as they're happening. But it does appear to be a pretty healthy
Yeah, YouTube does take 30% off the top. I appreciate Cash Apps more. I really do appreciate the Cash Apps more, because YouTube takes 30% and they're robbing us. When you send super chats, YouTube is robbing us by taking 30%. That is highway robbery. Taking 30% is robbery without a gun. That's one thing that I don't like about super chats. If you send $100, they're going to take $30 and I'm only going to get 70. YouTube is robbing us by taking 30% off the top. That's way too much for YouTube to be taken, but that's how they get down. That's the rules. But anyway, I appreciate everybody who sends super chats, Cash Apps, Venmos, PayPals. Let's get back to the content, though. You guys are all appreciated.
The presents, we watched them First Ward Park. We watched them kind of at one point. I noticed we were at Trade and Tryon. And if I'm not mistaken now, Jane, I believe they're coming up on South College and West 3rd.
Okay.
I could be mistaken, but I saw the spiral parking garage ramp that I believe
That's
is right in that area.
Sure. And we know that the Charlotte Marathon wrapped up today. And so just really busy on the streets of uptown Charlotte. So traffic obviously is going to be impacted all day, if not all weekend, as this particular march continues to march down the road, down towards 3rd. Are we good with audio, James?
Well, let's take a brief listen in, and then we're going to join with reporter Anna.
And I see Anna King in the picture as well. All right, let's go ahead and listen in here.
If these people are so proud of their country, they need to go back. I don't have no sympathy for anybody waving a foreign flag in America while demanding to stay in our country. Waving a Mexican flag or a foreign flag while begging to stay in his country, that don't make sense. Listen, if you're going to wave a Mexican flag, you should have no problem being sent back to that country, because you're going back to the place you love. You shouldn't have a problem going back to the place you love. How you gonna claim to love Mexico, but you're crying us a whole river when we send you back to the country that you claim to love? I mean, make it make sense. How you gonna take pride in something, but you're crying once you got to go back there? That is fake pride. That is what you call fake pride. There's no way that you should be crying about being sent back to a place that you love so much. If you love Mexico so much, you shouldn't have a problem being sent back there.
For a little bit. All right, as we continue to watch that, I'm going to bring in our Anna King. She is there live at the...
That's like bragging about somebody that you used to be in a relationship with, but there's good reason for you not being with them now. That's like a female who's she's still in contact with her ex, and she tried to make it seem like they were so great. Well, how come you're not with them now? You're not with each other for good reason. You're sleeping with a new person, and he's sleeping with a new person. So I don't want to hear about how great your ex was, because if it was so great, you would still be with that person. Obviously, it wasn't so great. That's why you're not together now. If you loved Mexico so much, you would be there. You would be living there. These are the same people who are crying because they got to go back to the same place that they claim they love.
And Anna, we know you've been there since this morning. And if you can hear me, is your...
No, super chats is cool. Like I say, super chat, I don't mind super chats, but I prefer cash apps. I prefer cash apps because super chats take 30%. But I appreciate everybody who did send a super chat. I appreciate you, Lotus. You already know I do, baby. You know I appreciate you and everybody else who sent a super chat, a cash app, however you sent the support. I appreciate it. What I'm saying is I like cash apps more because cash apps, I get all my money. Cash app don't take 30% from me like super chats. But anyway, let's get back to the content. All of you guys, I appreciate all of you guys. I don't care if you send to Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat. I appreciate you all.
Observation there from your point of view.
Yeah, I've been here since.
Taking 30% is robbery. Taking 30% is highway robbery. That is robbery with no gun. YouTube is greedy. YouTube, listen, homie, they already make money based on us just posting on their platform. So they're making money just based on us posting on their platform. And they want to take 30% of our super chats. That is robbery with no gun. Literally.
Very beginning to take that first board park a little almost an hour ago, actually. Here are just some of the signs that we are seeing out here and some of the chants we're seeing out here. Over here, out here.
Right, power to the people. So they're still in there. They steal everything we do. Everything we do, they latch on to it. They steal it. They repeat everything we do. They copy everything we do. Power to the people. Hold on, where you get that from? Then you want to compare what you doing to what we went. Then they want to compare what they're doing to what we went through in this country. That's disrespect. Foundational Black Americans never fought to legalize border hopping. Let me repeat that for you people who are too slow. You can't compare what Mexicans are doing to what foundational Black Americans have went through in this country. We've never fought to legalize border hopping. Foundational Black Americans ain't never did that, but that's exactly what Mexicans are doing. They're fighting to legalize border hopping. They're fighting for the right to break the law. What they're saying is we should be able to come. We should be able to come illegally. You guys should keep the borders wide open. That's exactly what they're saying. Keep those borders open so we can come by the millions. But if you close the border, we're going to call you guys racism. But we're going to call you guys racist. But it's mighty funny that they don't call Mexico racist for enforcing their immigration policies. We're going to get in the middle of the streets and we're going to fight the legalized border hopping. We're going to fight the legalized border jumping. Then they got the nerve to compare that nonsense to what blacks have went through in this country. That is disrespectful.
Right now, CMPD has South College Street and East 3rd Street closed off as they march down South College Street right now. Yeah, earlier today I spoke to an official who kind of painted a picture.
Most of these blacks that you see are tethers, and then some of these people are just lost FBA people who are just lost in the sauce, who are clueless and foolish. Most of the blacks you see, most of them are tethers, but some of them are FBA because you got FBA people who cape for these immigrants too. Maxine Waters is FBA, but she cape for immigrants. Jasmine Crockett is FBA, but she capes for immigrants. So we got FBA people who be caping for these immigrants too. Not all of them are tethers. Some of them are tethers, but some of these people are FBA, which is just sad, which is just really sad. I don't know why any FBA will be caping for an immigrant when an immigrant will never cape for you. When have these tethers or immigrants ever fought for anything that benefits foundational Black Americans? It's never happened in the history of this country. So foundational Black Americans ain't got no business caping for no immigrants. I understand why tethers do it, because tethers want to get their cousins in this country. Tethers want to get their whole family in this country. So we understand why they're fighting to legalize border hopping. That makes sense for a tether to do it, but it makes no sense for a foundational Black American to do it.
Just why they're out here, what they're hoping to get. She told me, or get from this protest. She told me that
Somebody said Jasmine Crockett is a Haitian. Is she really a Haitian? If she is a Haitian, then it makes perfect sense why she capes for immigrants. That's if she's really a Haitian. But it makes sense for tethers to cape for immigrants because they're trying to get their family over here. But it makes zero sense for a foundational Black American to be caping for these immigrants.
Is amazed at the number of people who came out today to protest, but also she says that she's hearing a lot of good things from those who came out, but then also she says that tomorrow they will continue to protest. This isn't over after today. I'm kind of marking with them, so I'm losing my voice, but yeah, so you can still kind of see some of the signs out here, and here's some of the chants that they're chanting right now.
And Anna, if you would, can you recall or do you some of your takeaways from what you've been seeing has been?
I don't think Jasmine Crockett is Haitian. I believe she's a foundational Black American. She's just fighting for the wrong things. See, most of the time we assume that these Blacks are tethers, and some of them are, but some of these people are FBA as well. We have a decent amount of FBA people who be caping for these immigrants and tethers, which is sad, but it's true. We automatically, well, not me, and I'm not going to say we, some of you guys automatically assume that these people are tethers because they're caping for immigrants. We got a lot of FBA people that are off code. There's a lot of FBA people who are off code that cape for immigrants. Seriously. It's a lot of FBA people who are not on code that are caping for these illegals that will never cape for them.
Peaceful from the park and just the initial gathering through this march?
Yeah, this has been a very peaceful protest. I only saw CMPD kind of contest with one person that ran through the crowd a little bit earlier today. So other than that, it has been completely peaceful since being at the park to the march that they are doing right now.
We can hear it's really muffled out there a little bit, Anna, and we do understand, though, that it seems peaceful so far, and there have been few incidents from CMPD.
Shout out to Mr. Nice, man. Mr. Nice has blessed us with a Cash App as well. Shout out to you, Mr. Nice, for the love and support.
Are folks talking to you at all and seeing that you in the media? Do they want to get any kind of message out there?
Yeah, so earlier today I did get the chance to speak to an organizer and also someone participating in the protest here. They told me that they were more than excited to be out here. They kind of painted the picture of why this was important for them and why they wanted to come out here, and they brought family and friends out here as well. But yes, everyone is more than willing to get on camera and just talk about what brought them out here and why this is important to them.
All right, Anna, we appreciate you covering the scene for us this afternoon from Uptown. As you rest your voice a little bit, we know you still have some reporting to do. Appreciate your time. All right, we will stay with Anna's picture for a little bit longer as she's continuing just to gather some elements there. You can tell that they are really in the middle of Uptown Charlotte and in the middle of Saturday afternoon when people are going to get together, maybe go out to
And listen, man, I want to tell y'all something, man. This happened. Listen.
dinner there. So just something to keep in mind as the streets of Uptown Charlotte have been pretty packed with demonstrators, and by Anna's account, again, peaceful for the most part, and just want to get their message out there as they gather in droves, it seems. And it seems like an impressive turnout as folks are denouncing Border Patrol's appearance in the Queen City as well as the current administration. It is fair to say we have a statement from the Department of Homeland Security released now from the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, Tricia McLaughlin, saying, quote, American families should be able to live without fear of violent, criminal, illegal aliens hurting them, their families, or their neighbors. We are surging DHS law enforcement to Charlotte to ensure Americans are safe and public safety threats are removed. There have been too many victims of criminal, illegal aliens, and President Trump and Secretary Noem will step up to protect Americans when sanctuary politicians won't. So a statement now from the federal government, at least confirming that they are in Charlotte and are here, and the reasons why. And we did talk to Commissioner Susan Rodriguez not too long ago, a Democrat, of course, for District 6, on her concerns for Charlotteans and the Latino community in large, why, people might be a little concerned in the Charlotte area and what people can do to support them.
All right, man. This is what we're gonna do, man. We've hit the 2-hour mark, so we're gonna wrap this show up. Shout out to my girl Lotus Time, Ms. Red, for supporting the show. Shout out to Lions Dollars for blessing us with a cash app. Shout out to Big E for the super chat. Shout out to Mr. Nice for the cash app. Shout out to Donald Pookie Trump for the cash app. Shout out to Eric for the cash app. Shout out to Scoop for the cash app. Shout out to T-Fan1 for the cash app. Shout out to everybody for the love and support. Hey, man, we got to bring this information to the forefront to let everybody know what it is. We ain't playing, man. I'm speaking for the people. I'm here to educate, because a lot of our people don't understand the mindset of these Latinos with this anti-black racism. Look at how they treat the blacks in their country. Look at how blacks are treated in Dominican Republic. Look at how blacks have been treated in Mexico. Look at how blacks been treated all across Latin America. They bring that same anti-black racism over here. This is why the Mexican mafia and the Southsiders in California align with the Aryan Brotherhood and white supremacists. That's why, because they've always had a hatred for black people. They've been indoctrinated to have hatred for us. Anti-black racism is a part of their culture. They'll never admit it. You just got to be smart enough to see it for what it is. Peace to everybody that's been rocking. It's been real. We need to get rid of all of these sanctuary city policies. We should have got rid of sanctuary city policies a long time ago. A long time ago. We should have been eliminated sanctuary cities. So moving forward, never vote for sanctuary cities. It destroys black communities. It's going to take jobs away from American people, because they're going to bring in millions of immigrants and they're going to undercut these wages. And next thing you know, the job that once paid $25 an hour is only going to pay $15 an hour. It's bad for the economy. It's good for immigrants, but it's bad for the American citizens. Say no to sanctuary cities. Tell them no. Absolutely not. Never vote for that. Shout out to Deacon Weasel. He said we need to vote out black liberals. Shout out to Deacon Weasel. We need to vote out black liberals. We need to get rid of them. None of these people deserve to be in office. It is time to eliminate them. And people say, well, blacks, they want to play identity politics. Listen, man, who practices identity politics more than white folks? Every president in this country besides Barack Obama has been a white man. So if anybody plays identity politics, it is white people. They're the main people who play identity politics. He said, I fear it's too late for NYC, Red, just like it's kind of too late for California, because California has millions of undocumented immigrants and millions of anchor babies. They've overpopulated Cali a long time ago. So there's really no hope for Cali. Cali is a lost cause. You got over 20 million illegals in the state of Cali alone. It is over. There's no hope for Cali. If you're planning on moving to California, make other plans. Don't move there. Do business in Cali, but you can do business in Cali, but do not move there. California is for rich people that's already on their feet. California is not a state for people who are looking to find their way. California is not a state for people who are looking to find their way. You got to be established already to live in California. California is for established people. That's exactly what it is. I'm telling you guys the truth. If you made plans to move to Cali, you might as well change your plans. Now, if you got a solid career, if you're established, then yes, Cali might be good for somebody that's established. But if you're looking to find your way, you're trying to put the pieces together, don't waste your time. You're going to end up struggling in the state of Cali if you don't have a solid plan, if you're not already established. That is a fact. Now, that is realer than rap, no cap. No cap. California is cooked, and it's been cooked a long time ago. Shout out to Lotus Tie. That's realer than rap, 100%. So anyway, man, we're going to get up out of here. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. I appreciate everybody for loving the content. Hey, man, like I say, man, the game comes heavy when it's delivered from Red Supreme, when it's delivered from King Supreme indeed. You know? Chicago is headed that way, right? That's exactly what it is. Chicago is headed that way because of sanctuary city policies. That's why. They're not hiring, exactly. Don't go to Cali looking for a job. If you ain't got a career, if you ain't established in your career, then don't move to Cali. You're going to end up struggling. You're going to end up moving right back to the place that you came from if you don't have a solid plan together, if you're not already established. So peace to everybody for tapping in. I'm going to get on up out of here. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Salute to everybody. I told you why white people want to get rid of Mexicans, because Mexicans are affecting white people now. It's affecting white people now. When it only affected black people, white folks didn't care about them coming to the league. Oh, they're just in black communities. We don't care about that. Nah, we don't care about that. That only affects the black community. Once it started to affect the white community, that's when Mexicans became a major problem. That's when illegal immigration from this country, people from south of the border, that's when it became a major problem, once it began to affect white folks. And that ain't no joke. It's only a few 100,000 blacks in Los Angeles now. Los Angeles got like close to maybe like 400,000 blacks at the most. LA got like 400,000 blacks at the most. You know, that's bigger than a lot of cities though. But see, what you guys don't understand is 400,000 is not a lot for Los Angeles, but 400,000 is still bigger than most cities across the country. You got cities that are majority black, but those cities are small. But like I said, Los Angeles has pretty close about 400,000 blacks. But you got to think about it. There's 5 million. Los Angeles got about 6 million people in the whole city. Los Angeles is a city of 6 million people. So 400,000 out of 6 million people, that's not a lot of people. Now, if you're just going off numbers and you say, well, it's about 400,000 blacks in Los Angeles, that's bigger than a lot of cities with black populations. That's true. But if you consider the fact that LA has 6 million people, 400,000 is pretty small. You got to look at it like that. So yeah, man. So I'm gonna get up out of here, man. Peace to everybody. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. It's your player upon the Red Supreme. I'm gonna get up out of here. Shout out to all of my contributors. Shout out to all my supporters. I'm gonna give you guys this heat every time I pull up, every time I slide through. You know, peace to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. I got to get me some food, y'all. I'll be back in a minute. It's been real. 100.